Armored Core Lore, Weapon Arms. Why hold weapons in your hands when your arms can be those weapons? A rather strange introduction, I admit, but I feel it hits right at the heart of what weapon arms really are about. Trading off the usual style of two separate weapons to fire to a single button press to fire off two weapons at once. It's a simpler way to fight, some would say. It requires less concentration, allowing for a pilot to focus more on piloting the armored core. But this is just one opinion, as weapon arms have been with the Armored Core series since its beginning, and over that time, opinions form and history is made. So let us take a look into these arms of destruction and see what they did for the Armored Core series. Starting in no better place than the first three games of the series, Armored Core, Project Phantasma, and Master of Arena. While there is no real hard hitters or key figures who use weapon arms on their armored cores, we can find quite the selection between the three games. In the original Armored Core, a Raven has a choice between 8 different ones, including the AWGT-2000 dual Gatling guns and the AWRF-105 cannons, just to name 2 of these. In Project Phantasma, another will be added, the AWDC-2 grenade launchers, and one more in the Master of Arena, the AW-R4, a multi-firing cannon. Again, while weapon arms did not really see much time in the spotlight throughout the story, it is common to find pilots suggesting the use of weapon arms for defeating the final boss of Project Phantasma. These being the AWXC-65 or cannon arms like the AWRF-120. Each one is capable of beating the boss rather easily. While not much love for the weapon arms here in the first 3 games, in Armored Core 2 weapon arms certainly made their mark. Mostly due to one armored core in the arena named Werehound. An armored core who for some pilots would be a breeze, but for others this AC with its machine gun arms was a nightmare. In the context of the story, he was a skilled Raven who could have gone higher with his build, but he enjoys breaking newcomers with potential. This simple plot, you could say, gave the spotlight weapon arms needed. As I know after this battle, I did use weapon arms for a bit, and I don't think I was alone after seeing what Werehound could do. Other notable figures who perhaps are not remembered for their weapon arm use, but still could be counted towards drawing some attention to weapon arms, include Suave and number 1111. Armored Core 2 did not add much to the number of available weapon arms, sitting only at 9, with some being the ZAW-XPT-9 plasma cannons and the ZAW Splash laser slug gun. Armored Core 3 is where we see weapon arms rise again. Well, if we're going to get right to the point, the rise of energy and missile weapon arms use. As many foes here were big and could take a lot of firepower to down them, like the DC-001. Along with this, flying foes from jets to MTs were more common in missions. As such, it was worth investing in these parts for missions like this. These arms also found a home in the arena a lot in Armored Core 3, thanks to the fights being one-on-one and the choice of the battlefield being up to the player. There was not many armored cores who could stand up to energy shots. Nevertheless, how one chooses to fight aside, while Sideline followed the same idea of use with weapon arms for AC fights and huge foes, what is important to note here for further down the line in the series is the introduction of the MAW LIC-48 linear gun. This would become a weapon a lot of people used on one final boss. Armored Core Nexus again played with the idea of weapon arms for Armored Core battles. After all, battlefields were not so big, and there is a lot of Armored Cores to fight in Nexus. That said, there was no real standout use of weapon arms during this time, instead having to wait till Last Raven to become a known story figure, this being Vigilance. What is important here for weapon arm history is the introduction of the CRWA-91 MSM micro missile arms. Again, these would serve a big role in the next game, Last Raven. A game requiring lots of AC battles and, more importantly, pulverizers. You see, it was quickly worked out that pulverizers had this very clear weakness to micro missiles. As such, if you're not going to be parry blading, then micro missiles were the way to go. As such, the use of micro missiles, be it on the shoulder or weapon arms, shot up in this game. Now, this does not mean everyone was using them, but it was suggested to a lot of Ravens should they be having trouble with these foes. Circling back, you may remember I mentioned a weapon by the name of the MAW-LIC-48. Its name was changed, but these weapon arms would see use in defeating Zenaida in the true ending of Last Raven. The idea behind this lobster build was giving the pilot time to focus on controlling their armored core in the tight circle space of the battlefield, while being able to fire shots that would not drain too much energy, but cause good damage. As the other options would involve using pistols and machine guns, requiring a pilot's attention to be on firing, while trying to watch the enemy gauge as they circle around the battlefield, with Zenaida giving chase. This being said, no matter what your loadout, the battle is tough, so good luck to any Ravens who have not beaten her yet. Still, perhaps the real time weapon arms shined the brightest in the series was in the 4th generation of games. Armored Core 4 and Foranza would open up the lore of these two, as with Nex, a Lynx would require a certain AMS compatibility to make it work. And for those that AMS was not quite as high as others, well, this is where weapon arms came in. For Global Armaments, better known as GA, at the time the Pax Economica was lacking in skilled Nex pilots. As such, they thought, what if we could make a Nex that did not require such high AMS compatibility to work? The GA Sunshine E was born. A Nex that used bazooka weapon arms instead of normal arms. Why? Because in a short answer, it was a lot less stress on their brains. High AMS Lynx would have to think about the movement of fingers and hands of their Nex to make it use the weapon in each hand. For Sunshine E pilots, it was more a case of point and shoot. They did not have to think about the movements of hands or fingers of their Nex, as they did not have them. Of course, this is not the only example, as there is Airpool, who uses missile weapon arms, P. Dam and her Kojima arms, Raiden and his grenade launcher, but I think I can say without too much doubt that the one Lynx that really showed off weapon arms here was Rhodey. Considered once a low-ranked Lynx, he made his way to being ranked 4th among all Nex by the time of Armored Core Foranza, and to this day still proves to be a match for any pilot he fights. Saying this, however, while Armored Core 4 and Foranza opened up the lore about the weapon arms, one should not think weapon arms died out here. In fact, Armored Core Verdict Day brought us quite the new idea for weapon arms. Transformable and having weapon arms firing from only one side. While it may not sound like a big deal, it allowed for pilots to switch out of their weapon arms to go back to having a gun or blade in each hand. Not bound to the ammo count of weapon arms when they run out, you could switch them out and bring in the hand weapons. As for firing from one side, this is only the case with certain weapon arms, like the A04 Vampire or A04 Venom, allowing a pilot to pick either a right firing side or a left one. While this may seem like a step back, what this allows is focus firing. For example, having 2 sniper rifle shots fire off at the same time would be a waste, as Armored Core sniper builds are usually built around landing big damage to a single target. I will say this is from my personal experience when using these weapons. From what little knowledge I have in PvP, sniper builds sat at the back firing off shots at anyone who got in their sights. They would also be armed with close-range weaponry to deal with anyone who got too close. However, sniper cannons were more used than sniper weapon arms due to a number of factors including power and being able to drop them, which with weapon arms you cannot do. And to finish off this look into weapon arms, the most notable figure to use weapon arms during this time would be the Lone Mercenary, being a user of the O4 Vampire Sniper.